So I'm joined by Warwick Lucas from Galileo Capital. Thank you for being with us in studio, Warwick. Can we start with the rand, up 1.5%, even though there should ostensibly be some nervousness today? What do you think is happening?
Yeah, I think certainly the conference itself, our last look at the numbers was really it's going to be a very close call indeed, and so we don't have a view on that. And other drivers underlying the rand, though, the likes of the gold price going a little bit higher, that's supporting commodity currencies. We've also seen strength, for example, in the likes of the Australian dollar as well. So I think it's sort of a broad
okay, so it could be a commodity story right now.
Story, yeah.
And this is happening despite the United States raising interest rates this week, which is always a possible threat to the rand if investors go back to the United States. Just look at that and the overall implications of what the Fed said as well. Okay,
so the interest rate hike was really very, very well telegraphed. I mean, money markets were indicating a 97% chance of a hike about 4 weeks before it actually happened. So I think no surprises there. We will have a dove replacing the current dove of Janet Yellen, so we don't expect any kind of aggression in hiking in the States in the reasonable future. So all in all, it's a very softly as it goes approach that seems in play there, and I don't expect some disruption.
So U.S. monetary policy has stopped really being our main problem. It's now local issues that are the main drivers.
Very much so. Very much so. And of course, we have a political T-junction to work our way through as well.
All right, we'll get to that political T-junction, but the JSE, what's driving that down now? Because yesterday, I mean, there were gains of 4.5% or thereabouts for the banks, a very strong day. Everything turning around today.
Yeah, I think a bit of an anomalous market yesterday. I think part of it, certainly in relation to the banks, may perhaps have been in relation to growing confidence that the local banks will get off lightly on the whole Steinhoff debacle. I mean, the big and poorly covered borrowers are clearly in Europe, held by, amongst others, the likes of Deutsche and the ECB and so on. So in local terms, I think our banks will be fine.
Okay, so there was a relief rally. Wasn't it incredible that the European Central Bank itself was buying Steinhoff debt and didn't see this coming? I guess, does that make you sympathetic to all these investors that missed this? Somewhat,
although I think the ECB doesn't necessarily dig as much as perhaps they should. And in part, I think it also shows a sign of a systemic environment and the problem that comes when you have central banks paying so much with interest rates, suppressing them, keeping them down below natural levels. It results in a misallocation of resources, and the result is you get borrowings going to, frankly, undeserving companies like Steinhoff.
Yeah, and is it bad for South Africa that Steinhoff is the one that the ECB is now saying should teach us lessons? Again, we're there for the wrong reasons. We're in the news for the wrong
I guess so. Although it looks like the harshest lessons are actually going to be learned in Europe. And in fact, Europe shouldn't take away the lesson that South Africa is a problem in this particular case. Yeah. Clearly, their own system is a problem, and they need to watch out because they have probably got a lot more cockroaches like this.
All right, let's go to the conference now. A lot of predictions around where the rand will go depending on who comes out tops in the vote. Cyril Ramaphosa, is that priced in? Is that a hope from the market? He's clearly the one delegate seen as more business friendly.
Yeah, I think it is probably priced in, perhaps even more than it should be. I think there'd be some upside in the rand if he wins, and quite a lot of downside if the other camp wins. Now, I mean, clearly the key issue in politics and the economics particularly is that of trust. And one of the reasons why you have two-term limitations is that it's a chance to clean the stables, clear the boards, and given the controversies we've seen, perhaps some clearing of the stables is more urgent in this case than most ordinary cases. So I think the win by NDZ, rightly or wrongly, would be seen to be continuance of the status quo, which is frankly not particularly satisfactory.
So you said the rand could move some people saying 50 cents if Cyril Ramaphosa wins, maybe down a rand or two. What do you think? How low can it go if she comes out tops?
I had run about a rand 50 in mind, so that's in the middle of the range you give there. I think the one key point supporting the rand, and we've seen it in play in the last year or so, has been commodity prices. And that's really why the rand hasn't plumbed the lows that we saw at Nenegate time.
So even if it plunges, would that be a knee-jerk reaction? Could she build confidence again, or are we talking about a period of quite intense volatility until the next election?
I think if she does win, she's going to have to put her back into winning confidence, clarify land reform targets and issues. I mean, there is a lot that can be done on land reform anyway, in terms of things like proper title. So, you know, some land reform is actually necessary, but will it be investor hostile? Will she actually exercise true independence? All of that remains to be seen, and it's up to her.
All right, final question. A bombshell, Christo Wiese, also going back to Steinhoff, stepping down from the board and that subcommittee. The significance of that for the whole debacle?
I think there was potential for a lot of conflict of interest. So, for example, one of the companies which was originally flagged as having issues, called Southern Finance, that has to be clarified as to just what issues there are there. And then the other issues are, well, he is massively borrowed against some of the Steinhoff shares he held. There was a
There's now a question of which banks lent him money.
Quite right. I mean, at the time that Mattress World was acquired, which on the face of it had some merits to it, because it would add a lot of volume through Steinhoff, but he went and collateralized a lot of his own shares, and the problem is, of course, that the share price now has substantially underperformed and basically blown out that collateral, so it has to now be squared out one way or the other.
All right, so that continues, and we'll only get clarity from the ANC this weekend, but thanks for that preview. Warwick Lucas from Galileo Capital.